Welcome back to another Stormgate video. Today I'm very excited to be bringing you a pro replay analysis. There is so much we can learn from these replay analyses from the pro, and there's a few things I want to highlight today, but I'll be going over most of the game. You may have actually already seen this match, it's from the Invitational, but what I'm doing today is breaking down the strategies employed more in depth. So buckle up, I hope you enjoy. Already in this tournament, we can see that the builds are far more optimized around collecting the creep camps because they actually provide resources. So he uses Sovereign's Watch and goes right into a power bank because the Sovereign's Watch will actually temporarily drain power. So if he tried to go straight into the creation chamber, it would have put him in the red in the power. But the Morph Core finishes from the Arc Ship, allowing him to almost immediately drop the Creation Chamber as soon as the power bank goes down. These kinds of early game optimizations are very interesting. The next thing that's really interesting to look at, though, he begins the camp with the Sovereign's Watch. This is actually different from what Macsed does. I know his name says Ebot, but the player is Macsed, more commonly known by. But he actually begins taking the camp here. He gets a little bit of extra resources in the beginning, but takes some more damage on his Arc Ship. You can see almost 200 worth. And he's able to then place his next creation chamber here to finish off that camp. So he's gone up to 3 power banks. He can afford that because of the camp he took. He's actually depowered for a minute till it finishes. The one Argent he made up here takes the camp, and then he immediately moves out. So much less aggressive from the red player, but his build order has some advantages that I want to talk about. So we saw that PartinG was able to collect some more resources from the Vision camp. Because of how he placed his buildings, he had the Argents placed perfectly. Those resources that he collected right back into building a power bank. So the other Celestial player is actually able to do the same thing on one less power bank. So those resources that he's collected were spent. Going into this fight, it was 8 Argents to 9. Of course, reinforcements come in, and the number gets a little more skewed as they just trickle in one at a time from either side. But look at this. At a deficit, PartinG is able to take the fight by pulling back and regrouping. So he pulls away from his opponent's creation chamber to get a more favorable reinforce from his end and able to take the fight. So even though it's Argent versus Argent, the fight is actually still dynamic because they're fighting with positioning. Going up and attacking on the ramp was indeed questionable, but Macsed is able to turn it around and take the advantage. Here, I think Macsed made a mistake by shooting at the Arc Ship. It was nice to get some damage on the Arc Ship, but the Arc Ship is just going to heal that back up. And he wasted Argent energy. That said, they're still right there next to his resupply, and so, or rather his production structure. And so he is able to take that fight. Now, there's a lot more at play here with positioning. You can see that PartinG is taking just his army in a group and taking them on the map. I don't know if this was scouting or counterattacking, but in any case, he gets a little bit unlucky. PartinG kind of worries that Macsed is going to move out, and so when Macsed moves out with his little group of 4, he immediately gets caught. But what's interesting is, if we take a look at what happened, he moved out a group of 4, and he was keeping the rest of his army at home. Now, this is kind of a luxury. Because PartinG is attacking, the only thing he has to defend is this structure right here. If Macsed wants to attack him, he has to go all the way across the map. Which means that if he did move his entire army to that side of the map, and PartinG decided to attack from this end or that end, he is going to take a massive advantage. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is look at the building placement. So PartinG has built his first base here to take this camp, and his second base here to take this camp. And his third creation chamber, did I say base? I may have said base. I meant creation chamber. His third creation chamber is at this camp where he can attack his opponent's base. Macsed has put this base in, or rather this creation chamber, in vision. He's built his base as such, so he has vision of this ramp and vision of that ramp. A defensive posture. Because of that, Macsed doesn't want to move his entire army out in a cluster, because if he leaves this base undefended, when he doesn't know where this army is, then he's going to lose something if he gets attacked. However, he moves out with the 4 just to be safe, immediately gets caught, needs to run them away so that he's able to keep them alive, salvage them. He takes a bit of damage, but he regroups because he's still near his base and is able to push them back. Again, I don't know where he was actually going with that. That's the kind of insight I don't have. But it's really interesting what happens next, because he's not confident he can take the fight. So several of these Argents are actually injured. We can't see it while it's paused, but he's been focus firing them. See, this one's on 13. And so he actually moves back and cuts off the creation chamber. He's able to pick off a few Argents while PartinG is trying to go around the terrain here, and he takes a great fight. This is purely because of the positioning. Because he was here, he was able to focus fire all the units coming out. He was able to attack them first, gain an advantage. But the other thing is that as PartinG moves in to engage here, because he kind of has to, his arc ship is in danger and his creation chamber is in danger. So you might say, oh, why would he attack at that angle? He kind of has to. But because he comes in a spearhead, he is able to, or rather, he has to take a lot of damage on one Argent at a time, and the Argents in the back can't fire yet. And the farther back the rows, the more resupply you have, the more ability you have to replace soldiers, but those soldiers can't fight, and so you have to weigh the options. You could equate this with pullback micro, which we actually saw PartinG do in one of the earlier fights. It's the only reason why it went as well as it did. But here we see it again. Macsed pulls back the damage ones and sends forward the fresh ones. So he's gone into the red to use that Sovereign's Watch, but it is going to be enough to push him away. The other thing is that this power bank is giving them energy, which means ultimately, even if he has less here, they will be doing double damage. So effectively, if it has power, it's almost worth 2 of these Argents. So he doesn't want to risk it, but now he's taking an aggressive posture. Interesting that he's leaving this alive for now. He probably doesn't want to waste the Argent energy or the time to destroy it, because he's thinking that he can come over here and end the game. He moves his arc ship closer, and look at this, positioning yet again. He's posturing here, because as long as this army's here, he'll be too afraid to move away with his force. But heading into the main base, just beautiful posturing. Now he is in position. He doesn't have the APM, he's not looking at it, but he is going to force PartinG to make some decisions here. Do I want to defend my base and give up this? This is the problem with aggressive structures. So you might think it's a mistake to leave this alive. He's still producing on 3 creation chambers, but now he's able to... Oh, don't get stuff on the edge of the map, please. Now he's been able to push forward and force PartinG to make a decision. Because he is on this side of the map, if PartinG decides, oh, your army's smaller because half of it is attacking my base, I'm going to destroy everything you have. Look at all this room. He can back up for days. If your opponent is faster than you are, then absolutely, this is dangerous because he can just throw away his army. But Macsed knows that PartinG's units are no faster than his units. He can always run away. But because they're on now PartinG's side of the maps, and PartinG's built so aggressively, yeah, it gave him the ability to put on pressure early, but now look what it's cost him. He can't defend his main base and this little outpost over here. So let's see how this plays out. He is going to try and push this army away, just like I said. He's able to back away, and now he has to decide, do I go back? Do I keep pressing the advantage? He can just keep running back because of how he's positioned. So this is phenomenal play by Macsed. And it is just with Argents versus Argents. Now, these are probably dead. But look at that positioning again. He takes a look and says, this army's too big, I can't face it. Let me take these two out. And PartinG tries to keep them alive, and so he backs away with them. And so Macsed's actually able to get them out just because he said, that army is too small. You try to hammer an anvil, but the anvil was not heavy enough. So he pushes that right out of the way. And PartinG, look at this. He splits off the exact number he knows he needs to beat these. 5 Argents lose to 6 Argents, or rather 7 Argents. So he's split off just enough Argents, so he makes sure that the rest of his army is able to actually handle this. So he's chased it. Unfortunately, Macsed gave him the slip when he went through the trees. So PartinG is now going to try and do the same exact tactic. Now they're on his side of the map, and he's going to try and take his base. This only works if you don't know this is coming. But Ebot has taken a more defensive posture. He sees him not here. Remember when PartinG was attacked and the unit sat here for a second? PartinG still had no idea. Macsed knew, since his units were here and still on the move, so he's immediately able to turn around. And this is one of the major differences. So the army, he was technically in a similar situation where he could have been chased back here with this superior massive force. But right now he has an advantage, he doesn't want to lose it, and he's seen it soon enough, so he can potentially go back and stop this. This is why scouting is majorly important to positioning. Now, just like before, we have the units sandwiching it, but the positioning was better here. If he wanted to escape, he would have had to have walked through there, but he couldn't. He's chased with his entire army now, though, so Macsed has now overextended. He jumped the gun a little. Now, that said, it was PartinG's game to, or rather it was Macsed's game to lose at this point. But again, he was a little out of position, but the double Sovereign's Watch and the army being close enough. Macsed actually has a bunch of units up here. I am not sure what they were doing. Were they looking for his other army, or were they collecting something? So, I'm not really sure. Maybe they were looking for these guys. But that's not enough. And the dance continues. So, PartinG wants to regroup his army because he does not want... Neither of these little forces can face it. This is terrible positioning, but right now Macsed has overwhelming force. So the red player comes in a line. He doesn't like the fight. He backs away. He might have actually been able to just win just because he's got so much more. Right now it's almost double the numbers. But even still, oh, look at that. Splits off 3. He knows one of them's damaged. He's not going to overcommit. He's going to make sure as much of his army is on the front as possible. Just phenomenal play. Unfortunately for PartinG, even the wisest of plays can't overcome this massive deficit. He hasn't been able to afford to produce. The collection array was taken, and so that's going to be all it for PartinG. But we can see here that there is little things that actually make this a strategy game, where scouting and where you place your units means a lot. Nearly identical build orders, identical unit composition, and yet the fundamentals of RTS were able to win Macsed this game today.